Bloody hell, I can't find me flat cap, so I've got to wear this now. Oh, my name's Johnbonne. That's #1 source for #2 games. And today it's downloadable Discontent Day today, isn't it? Where content's large and hosts a bloody bleeding charge. Well, today we're going down Pitt.
Fallout games are so expansive and so jam-packed with features not even I, a hybrid of Yorkshire and Birmingham, could possibly talk about it, and we so love to talk because of our accents. That and I'm so lonely that if I make contact with people I tend to literally talk them to death due to social tensions. But enough about anxiety and being unfit for human consumption. You all want to know what the crack is with Fallout 3. Like I say, because the games are stodgier than a Denby-Dale pie, we'll have to talk about something smaller.
Yes, he is a little fella.
No, not quite. I was actually referring to the DLC which takes place in Pitt. No, seriously, in the atomic annihilated future, Pittsburgh is known as the Pitt, a land now owned by slavers, forcing their kidnapped victims to work in the steel mills of the old city until they die of radiation sickness or horrifying mutations, if they're lucky. Those less fortunate die of working too hard, and there's few worse ways to pop your clogs than that. As the so-called hero, it's your job to close down a thriving steel industry like a bloody Tory and put people out of work. Well, that's kind of optional. We'll get around to the morality choices later in the review. To start this DLC, you first have to investigate a radio broadcast asking you to help the slaves of Pitt. You'll meet up with Snake Plissken. You meet up with a slave named Werner, who helps you infiltrate the Pitt as a slave.
So, let me get this straight. You're being sneaked into another part of the world to take other people's jobs and then sabotage the steel industry, which will cause hundreds of hard-working people into poverty. I knew I should have voted UKIP, although that Nick Clegg has a nice look about him.
Your real quest is to find a cure for the effects of radiation seen only in the Pitt, but a cure for your average everyday garden variety radiation would also be nice, and a compelling enough reason to see the expansion through to the end. It ties in quite nicely to the importance of the main quest in the base game, but I digress. Fighting your way from start to finish is virtually impossible given how limited ammo and medical supplies are throughout this campaign, so menial labour will be required even if there is a little bit of combat involved. The first bit of decent hard work you've done since being in the vault, when you weren't wanking off to a martyr moment before the escape, that is, you dirty cat, is to collect 10 steel ingots in the steel yard. This will give you a new perk because you strained your back a bit and some new slave duds that'll boost your strength, agility and endurance by a point each. Sounds like a good deal, right? Well, if you really hate yourself, you can go out and find the remaining 90 steel ingots, and for every 10 you return, the foreman will give you new weapons, armor and a reason to consult a therapist.
Ain't no question. You earned the treasure of my collection. This armor goes all the way back to when the Brotherhood tried to wipe out the Pit. Some of the tribals who worshipped Asher made it to look like their god. Try it on, and you'll feel a little like a god yourself.
Save yourself some trouble and don't even begin this quest without a guide, otherwise you'll get lost, use up too many supplies than necessary, and you'll probably age by about 30 years. That is, if you've never gone down Pitt. Bloody young'uns nowadays. We didn't have guides and walkthroughs in the mines, you know, only that's pickaxe and budgie. So once your hair turns grey prematurely, or if you just settle for 10 ingots, then you have to fight in the arena, a rare event that, should you win, will allow you to join Asher the Slaver King's army. Here you'll face about 7 opponents spread across 3 rounds in an irradiated hole. Be sure to save your raid away, raid X and gather your best resistance gear because the bad barrels will bombard your body with beyond belief with radiation. I've not lived long enough to see if your opponents die of rad sickness though. Okay, rad sickness sounds pretty cool. Better than boring sickness. After you become the Grand Champion of the arena, you'll want to get your old items back from a nearby footlocker, so you'll need to undergo some serious space management. I never thought I'd hear myself say this, but I wish the adoring fan was here so he could shoulder half the crap I picked up on the steel mill. And now you're better off, you'll be prepared for the upcoming shitstorm. Or should I say, Pittstorm. As you meet Asher, you'll learn that he's ex-Brotherhood of Steel, and when you hear his story, you may find that the Paladins aren't the knights in shining power armor that they were in the base game. His reveal of his plans for the Pit are interrupted when the slaves revolt, and you're left to talk with Asher's wife Sandra about the cure for the radiation he has. It turns out that the cure is their child, completely immune to the mutations that occur in the smog-filled city. It's here where the morality choices kick in. You can either fight the poorly armed workers and let the baby rest, you can fight the raiders and kidnap the baby for the slaves, or you can fight your hunger and eat the baby if you have the cannibal perk. I've never tried the third option myself, and probably couldn't, but if you're an absolute bastard you can chow down on an infant and make enemies with everyone, except your tummy. By helping Asher, your final task is to kill Werner, but by helping the treacherous lieutenant you can release a plague of trogs upon Updown and finish off the raiders. And then you're pretty much done, except for finding teddy bears for the child that you didn't eat because you couldn't be such a horrible human being. For each teddy you turn in, you'll be given a small supply of caps, but it's not nearly as rewarding as finding pre-war books for the Brotherhood and so on. Besides that, there's little left to do. You can happily return to the wasteland in the knowledge that you maintained order or brought chaos to a land of rebels who won't last 5 minutes outside of the factory state. I hope you're proud of yourself. While I have described the entire expansion's quests, perhaps to the point of spoiling it, there's still a few nuggets left to salvage from this manufactorium. Oh god, the Warhammer references are back again! The new location is one of my favourites in all the Fallout games, even more so than Anchorage, and that's a snowy level, so that's saying a lot. I can't decide what the best features are though. Do I commend the art teams for the ancient apartments turned workhouses, or the smoke-belching chimneys atop the gigantic factories, decayed by pollution, nuclear war, and time? And do I prefer the super lethal cutting tools, or the BDSM kit the slaves are kitted out in? Come to think of it, I'd have to pay a fortune for that leather and steel that they're decked out in. Sod that, bring on the nuclear apocalypse! In all seriousness though, the visuals, new enemies, weapons and armour are all fist-fantastic.
Before I get me man to put kettle on and crack on with next review, it's time to finish this one first. So sit down, shut up, and if you can't see how bloody long we got left, you must be bloody blind. Unless you've downloaded it in MP3 mode, you thieving bastard.
The Pitt is an excellent video game adaptation of how Thatcher ruined this country, replacing coal with steel and the Dole office with brand new weapons and armour. The new location has enough content to last up to 2 hours or 8 months if you're looking for all the steel ingots without a walkthrough. In that time you'll get a handful of weapons and armour, most of which will be nice upgrades and alternatives for your current and upcoming arsenal. However, there's few perks or opportunities to level up, so unless you want the gear and the story, there's not much point to getting this content pack. Still, it's got a damn fine story, if somewhat short on as you rushing through it like a trog with its arse on fire. For a price of £3.99 I can easily recommend this expansion, even if it is a little on the short side. It's a bit like a cup of Yorkshire tea. It's bloody nice, but it's over quickly, especially if you pour it all over your bollocks.
Till next time, I'm Johnbonne, that's #1 source for #2 games, and I'll be seeing you later. Now, excuse me, I gotta take a walk on Dales. Ta-ra!
Nonsense of hills and hills and cotton mills, and we've got Edwina Curry too. Well, chucky, 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 chucky. Fight at Ward, fought at where we speak. It makes too much sense to me. Arthur Scargill. Thank God for to and thank God for to ale, and thank God for to apostrophe.